My assignment today is to provide informational, inspirational, and motivational speaking. I want to take this moment and make a deposit and an impartation into your life, into your mind, and more particularly into your heart. And I want to start with this quote: guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flows the matters and the issues of your life. I want to repeat that. Guard, which means to protect, to shield, and to defend your heart, because out of your heart flows the matters and the issues of your life. It's important to understand the fiber of that particular quote, because the emphasis that I want to place on this subject, matters of the heart, today, has all to do with what comes out of your heart, right? What comes out, what flows out of your heart. As the John said, I'm speaking about the matters of the heart, and I want to integrate this one particular word, which is the word issue. And the word issue means to flow out. The word matter is the substance by which something consists, something that occupies space, like a consequence or a state. It is something that we have that takes up the space of our heart. That's what a matter is. And the question is, what matters do you have occupying space in your heart? What issues do you have flowing out of your heart? You see, this is a profound truth. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a person. I want to repeat that. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a person. Your heart is the definition of your existence, your being. Your heart is your fiber. It's the true, genuine, authentic you, your innermost being. That's what your heart is. Your heart is your innermost being. It's who you are. It represents what you're made of, what you're comprised of. Your heart is where your passion is. Your heart is where your self-confidence, your self-belief is. Your heart is where your tenacity is, your courage, your determination, your will, your strength, your resiliency, your relentlessness. Your heart is the true you. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a person. There are issues that sometimes accumulate and develops in our heart over time, particularly through the things that we experience, through the things that we go through. And some of these issues, they obstruct the fluidity of our heart, the flow of our heart. Sometimes there are issues like fear, defeat, trauma, the bombardment of circumstances, everything coming at you all at once from every different angle imaginable. There are issues like setbacks that we experience in life: bitterness, unforgiveness, doubt, susceptibility, vulnerability, anger, resentment. All this stuff accumulates and it builds up inside of our heart. And it causes for the flow and the fluidity of our heart to become stagnant. It causes for us to start shrinking in life instead of being magnified. It causes for us to become condensed in life instead of growing, maturing, and developing in life. You see, there are things like the fear of living, the fear of dying, the fear of being alone. These things, they put pressure on our heart and causes for us to start shrinking in terms of our confidence and shrinking in terms of who we are called and destined to be. These things like the fear of rejection, the fear of financial devastation, the fear of generational dysfunction, these things, they squeeze our heart, they put pressure on us, and they limit our freedom. It limits our accessibility. It limits who we are in character. It limits who we're able to show ourselves to be to our family and our friends and our employers and in society at large. When these matters or these issues of the heart are left unattended or unaddressed and none evicted, it causes deterioration. It causes for us to struggle. It causes for us to feel suppressed. These things cause for us to feel like we can't really get a grip in life and we can't really live out the true meaning or the true definition of who we are. You see, your heart is important, and it's important to have a healthy heart, because When you have a healthy heart, you're saying to yourself, I'm a healthy individual. And the definition for the word heart here has nothing to do with our organ or muscle that pumps the blood through our body. This particular heart has to do with our moral and our character, our moral disposition and our characters. It has to do with who we are internally as an individual. And these issues that we sometimes find ourselves challenged with in life, they back us up in the corner. They take away our courage from us. They take away our invincibility. It causes for us to feel like, man, I'm not able to maximize my potential. I'm not able to spread my wings like an eagle, like the eagle that I am, and fly and soar in life. These issues in the heart, they become a cancer, and they hinder and limit the issues that need to flow out. They limit and they hinder the strength that needs to flow out. They hinder and they limit the virtue that needs to flow out of our lives. You see, the word virtue means power and it means strength. And that is what belongs in your heart. And when we have these other issues like fear and doubt and unbelief, when these issues dwells in our heart, it hinders the things that needs to flow out of our heart, like courage and tenacity and resiliency. And so when I talk about the matters of the heart, I'm asking you to examine your heart so that you can make sure that you have the right stuff flowing out of your heart. And of course, it's true that what flows in determines what flows out. What comes in determines what goes out. Because as the old saying goes, you are what you eat, or you are what you digest, or you are what you intake. Whatever you allow to come in, that determines who you are, right? Because that determines what goes out. And your heart is who you are. What's in your heart is who you are. So if you allow for courage to flow in, then courage is going to flow out. If you allow for grace to flow in, then grace is going to flow out. If you allow for peace to flow in, peace is going to flow out. If you allow for strength to flow in, strength is going to flow out. That's why the quote says, guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flows the issues of your life. So if you allow for joy to flow in, joy is going to flow out. If you allow for faith to flow in, faith is going to flow out. For out of the abundance of your heart, your flow consists. Whatever you're comprised of, whatever you're made of on the inside, that's who you are. That's who you are. Your heart is a defined representation of who you are in character. Your heart is a defined representation of who you are in terms of your integrity. Your heart is a defined representation of your passion. Your heart is a defined representation of your love. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a person. So things like faith and virtue and courage and forgiveness and strength and integrity and morality and character and dignity and tenacity and resiliency is what you want flowing out of your heart. Because what flows out of your heart not only flows out, but it flows into the lives of your family member. It flows into the corridors of your marriage. It flows into the corridors of your relationship. It flows into the work environment, right? It flows into your career. It flows into your friendship. It flows into your relationship. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a person. So let me say to you, be not faint-hearted in well-doing and doing what's right and doing what's good and investing in you. Don't get tired. Don't get weary and doing what you must do to invest into you and to make sure that you have a healthy heart. For through diligence, through guarding, protecting, and keeping your heart, you will reap, you will win in life if you do not faint or lose heart. Let me say that again. Don't be faint-hearted in well-doing. Don't be faint-hearted and being diligent. Don't be faint-hearted with making sure that you are allowing for the right ingredients and the right nutrients to flow into your heart because you will win in life if you don't become discouraged or faint-hearted. So let's address resiliency. Being resilient means, and I just want to give you layman's term, it means to be able to take your licks and keep on ticking. It means to go through life, and no matter what comes your way, no matter what bombards you, no matter what attack you come under, no matter what storm you have to endure, resiliency means to go through that. Being resilient means to endure that and to be able to find a way to bounce back. And see, that's the kind of heart that you want. You want a resilient heart. You want a heart of resiliency. Because there's going to come a time, and I'm sure many of you can witness to this, there's going to come times when things are not going to be so fine. Things are not going to be so hunky-dory. You're not going to always have a cakewalk through the park. There's not going to always be parading and celebrating and having recreation and wonderful times. You're not going to always feel at your best. You're not going to always experience good things. Some things are going to happen that are unfortunate, like the loss of a loved one, like a divorce, like a house going into foreclosure, or a car being repossessed, or your credit being messed up. There are things that are going to happen in your life. But when you have resiliency in your heart, resiliency allows you to take your licks and keep on ticking. Being resilient means that if you fall down, you get back up, you brush yourself off, and you say, man, I'm going to keep going. Being resilient means that if you go through a trial, if you go through a circumstance that causes grief and sorrow and anguish and lamentation in your life, resiliency means that I'm going to cry for a season, but then I'm going to dry my eyes and I'm going to get back up on my feet and I'm going to set my sail and continue pressing forward, because there's something great in life that is awaiting for my arrival. There's a destiny awaiting for my arrival. There is a breakthrough awaiting for my arrival. And in order for me to have that, I must be a survivor. I must be a survivor. I must survive the stuff that are displeasant in my life. I got to have a resilient heart. I got to have the kind of heart that says I'm a lion, and do I get attacked by a bunch of hyenas, I will fight them off one by one until I'm able to raise my head as king of the jungle, as king of my territories, as having dominion over the landscape that I dwell. You see, ladies and gentlemen, you were created with the heart of resiliency. You was created to be courageous. You were created to win in life. You were created to rise to the top. You were created to endure hardship. You were created to outlast your storm. You were created to live life and to be victorious in life. You see, I've gone through some tough times in my life. And for those of you that are watching now, and for those of you who will watch later on, when you look at life and you discover that you've had some trauma and some grief and some sorrow, I can relate to that. Perhaps you're going through something right now in your life. Perhaps you're going through some turbulence in your marriage. Perhaps you've gotten a negative report from the doctor concerning your health. Perhaps someone that you love, have loved all your life, have gotten sick and taken ill and have an incurable disease. Or maybe they died. Maybe you had to bury someone that you always thought would be around. Maybe your business failed. Maybe you've had some failures in your relationship. Maybe you've had some negative things to happen. I can relate to that. I understand you. I know what it's like to be there. I can pull up my sleeves and show you the scars. I've been right there where you are. I know what it feels like to have pain and to have wounds and to have setbacks and to have failures in my life. But I also know what it feels like to have a heart filled with resiliency that says no matter what happens, I must survive. I must live. I must endure. I must make it through this night season. I must make it through this trauma. I must survive this grief. I must endure this sorrow. I must go through this hardship. I must survive this economy, this recession. I must go through the wars in life. I cannot stop. I cannot die. I cannot quit. I cannot give up. I cannot lay down. I cannot allow for myself to get discouraged. If I get depressed, I can't stay depressed. If I get frustrated, I can't stay frustrated. If I get stressed out, I can't stay stressed out. I got to rise above the frustration and rise above my stress and rise above the sorrow and rise above everything that is on an assignment to eliminate me. I must rise above that. And how do I rise above it? By reaching inside of my heart and pulling out my courage and pulling out my tenacity and pulling out my relentlessness and pulling out my strength and pulling out my joy and pulling out of my heart everything that I have stored in my life for such a time as this. You see, a good man and a good woman, out of the good treasures of their heart, bring forth good things. For out of the abundance of your heart, your river flows. Let me say that again. Out of the abundance of your heart, your river flows. Let me share a quick testimony with you. And let me start by saying where my life is today. Today, I'm a motivational speaker that travels the world. I'm in the process of writing books. I've had my own television and radio show that was worldwide, advertised on 3 different network stations. I started a motivational platform that has taken me to places I never thought that I could possibly go. I speak in jails, prisons, courtrooms, colleges, universities. I speak for the federal government, state government, county government. I started a church in my home years ago with just 4 people, my wife and my 2 sons, that grew to 3,000 members with multiple locations. I've had a lot of success in my life. I own several businesses. That's where I am right now. But that's not where my story begins. You see, my story begins when I was born to a 13-year-old teenage mother. By the time she was 15, she had 3 sons. And she had to raise us the best she could without any outside support or help. Because times were so tough for her, she handed me off to a complete stranger that was basically an outside friend of the family. And she said, "You're able to financially support my child. Here, take my child and love my child the way I would." And this lady raised me until I was about 4 years old. She got sick. She had to be admitted into the hospital for an extended stay. So she handed me back to my mom. And when I came home to my mom at the age of 4, I didn't know my mother. She was a complete stranger to me. And because times were still hard for my mom, being a child herself, she handed me off to different family members and to church members. And eventually I found myself going through life being handed off. And then when I was 13 years of age, she said, "Now go and live with your father." My father was a drug dealer. My father was an abuser. My father was somewhere else raising another family. I didn't know him. I didn't have any relationship with him. So I didn't want to live with him. So when my mom said, "Go live with your dad," I was in the 9th grade and I ran away. I'm like, "No, I don't want to live with strangers anymore. I'd rather be on my own." So I ran away from home. I found myself homeless at the age of 13. I dropped out of school in the 9th grade. I was a straight A student. I dropped out of school in the 9th grade and I got addicted to cocaine at the age of 13 by living on the streets in the part of town where drug dealers hung out at and sold drugs. And I got addicted to cocaine at the age of 13. I was sleeping on the street corners in the winter, eating out of trash cans, not having any clothing to keep me warm during the winter months, not having a bath to take or anything to eat. Finally, one night, about a month later, this drug dealer comes by and he stops about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sleeping under this oak tree, and he wakes me up. He said, "Why are you out here every night like this?" I said, "Because I don't have any place to live." And he said, "Come with me, come and go with me and let me help you." And so I went with him that night and I slept at his house. And the next day he handed me a bag of drugs and he said, "If you're going to survive in these streets, you need to sell this and make some money because that's the only way you're going to survive." And I didn't have any direction. I didn't have any type of real reasoning to understand at this time that there were other alternatives. So I gave in. I yielded to this temptation of dealing in drugs, and I became a drug dealer, and I got addicted to drugs, and I got involved in violence, and I got arrested over and over and over and over and over again as a juvenile. And I found myself doing time in the juvenile detention center. And then I kept going forward with that lifestyle, and I got arrested 19 different times. And even as a young adult at the age of 19 and 20, I decided, man, there has to be something more in life. I got sent to prison 3 different times. And while in prison, I decided I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to change my life. And so while I was incarcerated, I got back involved in school while incarcerated. And while incarcerated, I got my GED. And then while incarcerated in prison, I took this course called Interpersonal Life Skills, which taught me how to look inside and discover who I am, which I'm going to talk more about in just a few minutes. And then I found myself going through different vocational training while in prison. I said, man, I got to do something with my life while I'm incarcerated, because once I'm released, I cannot return back to the life of crime. I cannot return back to the life in the streets. I cannot return back to the drug life. You see, what I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that I have a heart. And if I put the good stuff that this world has to offer in my heart, if I put education in my heart, if I put belief in my heart, like personal belief, if I put faith in my heart, if I put trust in my heart, if I put vision and dreams in my heart, then who I am in heart is who I will become as a person. So I started integrated into my heart things that will cause for me to believe in myself and believe that I can have a good life and believe that I can do something in life and believe that I can go somewhere in life. And I started trusting the process of building and renewing my mind and feeding my heart with stuff that I could bring out that will cause for me to be a good father, a good husband, a good law-abiding citizen, a good mentor, and all of the above. And so years later, I come out of prison and I go back into the street, but this time not as a drug dealer, this time not as a drug addict, but this time as a changed man with a new heart, reaching out to those who were still involved in the street life, reaching out to those who were in prison, those who were on drugs, helping them to get off of drugs. I started a transitional house and I got people out of prison and brought them into my transitional house and helped them get their life back. I got drug addicts and pimps off the streets and prostitutes off the street and brought them into my transitional house and helped them get their life back together. And then I started going in jails and going in prisons and going in schools and helping people to realize that you can be resilient and that there are other alternatives in life and that it's never too late to turn your life around. And then you can do something great in life. You just have to change your heart. You just have to change what's on the inside of you. Because if you can change your heart, you can change your life. If you can change your heart, you can change your destiny. If you can change your heart, you can change your identity. If you can change your heart, you can change and alter the course of your life. You see, I'm here today not because I have it all together, but I have a heart that will not die, that will not quit, that refuses to give in, that refuses to give out. I have a heart that says, I believe in me. I have a heart that says, I can make it. I have a heart that says, all things are possible. I have a heart that says, I can do whatever I set my heart to do. I have a heart that says, I believe in greatness. I believe that everything that I want to accomplish in this life is attainable and within my reach. It may take some time. It may take some days. It may take some months. It may take some years. It may take some decades, but I believe it's within reach. I believe it is within reach. I believe that it is within reach. So I had to learn how to master being resilient in dark places. I had to learn how to master being resilient while it was raining in my life. I had to learn how to go out into the storms and not get depressed because of the storm, but dance in the storm and turn my weeping into laughing and my mourning into rejoicing. When you have a kind of heart like a lion that is full of courage, that is full of resiliency, then you can look at every negative thing that is happening in your life and not see it as something that happened to you, but rather something that happened for you. You see, I've learned to be an overcomer. And can I tell you that you were created to be an overcomer? You were created to be a champion. You were created to win. You were created to conquer. You're created to be victorious in life. You're not created to lose. You're not created to be defeated. You're not created to be a coward. You're not created to be somebody who quit. You're created to rise to the top. You were created to overcome adversity. You were created to live and to outlast every storm and every attack that comes against your life. So you know what I need you to do today? I need you to tell yourself, I am an overcomer. If you can write that in the chat, write it in the chat. I am an overcomer. I am victorious. I am a winner. I am a champion. I am a conqueror. Come on, tell yourself, I have the heart of a conqueror. I have the heart of a champion. I have the heart of an overcomer. I have the heart of a victor. I have the heart of a winner. That means I may fall down, but I won't stay down. That means I may get bruised, but I'm not broken. That means I may get tired, but I'm not torn. That means I may get weary, but I'm not worn. That means I may go through some hardship in life, but I will not let the hardship defeat me. I will rise above every circumstance, every situation, and every obstacle in my life. I am a conqueror. You are a conqueror. I am an overcomer. You are an overcomer. You have the heart of an overcomer. You have the heart of a victor. You have the heart of a champion. You have the heart of a winner. Now, I want to talk about something that is very personal. And I need you to really stay with me here for the next 10 minutes. Stay with me. I want to talk about core interpersonal values or interpersonal core values. Something that is very, very important. And I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. Number one, I want to talk about self-love, because interpersonally, you have to discover that there is a love in your heart that you have for yourself. And self-love means loving yourself unconditionally. Don't look for someone else to authenticate and to validate the level of love for you that you're supposed to have for yourself. You see, people mirror the reflection they get from us when we show them how we feel about ourselves. They would imitate and emulate the way you show them how you feel about yourself. In other words, if I show people that I love myself, then folk are going to love me the way I reflect self-love to them. And that in itself right there eliminates a lot of the abuse and negativity you will experience in relationship, because the love that you have for yourself becomes a standard that is projected to the people that wants to be a part of your life. And it doesn't matter if they are husbands or partners. It doesn't matter if they are wives. It doesn't matter if they are friends. It doesn't matter if they are co-employees and confidants. It doesn't matter if they are children or siblings. When people see the love you have for yourself permeating through your life, they are going to have to come into an agreement with that level of self-love that you have in your heart for yourself, and they will mirror that to you, and they will reflect that back to you. Number two, something that is a interpersonal core value along with self-love is personal forgiveness. And this is important because as a coach, as a mentor, I've had the opportunity to mentor thousands of people, professional athletes in the NBA, professional athletes in the NFL, professional athletes in the boxing arena, people in politics. I've had the opportunity to share and to counsel with people that are famous, that are actors, you name it. Here's what I've discovered. In my coaching and my counseling, I've discovered that a lot of times people have a hard time forgiving themselves for things they've done wrong in life, for poor decision-making, for poor choices, for mistakes they've made, for certain degrees and elements of failure. I've seen people forgive others and not have it in themselves to forgive themselves. I've seen people beat themselves up and be hard on themselves because of a divorce, because of a business failing, because of a relationship that went sour, because of some dream that they had that didn't come to fruition. But the moment you forgive yourself for your personal failures, for your poor choices, for your bad decision-making, for your faults and for your mistakes, you will experience a level of freedom in your heart that will allow for you to soar to a whole other level in life. You see, your creator has forgiven you. God has forgiven you. The universe has forgiven you. People who you've hurt, people that you've trespassed against and committed offense against has forgiven you. Now it's time for you to forgive you. So forgive you for that failed marriage. Forgive you for walking away from that promising career. Forgive you for the things you've done wrong. When people put drugs in their body, and alcohol in their body and controlled substance in their body. They are trying to feed and medicate the pain that dwells within their heart that continues to consist as a result of a lack of personal forgiveness. The moment you release all of that personal unforgiveness in your life, you become free from it. You're free from that personal anguish. You're free from personal defeat. You're free from the wounds and the pain and the hurt that you harbor because of being discouraged from failing in life. Listen, failure is not final. I'm telling you right now, I could write a book on the fact that failure is not final. In fact, what failure is just an ingredient to success. All it is that it shows you where you're missing the mark and where you need to tweak and to adjust whatever your calibrations are so that you can get back into the position of success. That's all it does. So it's never final. And then thirdly, interpersonal friendship. You have to befriend yourself and support yourself and care for you in a way that if no one else befriends you, if no one else cares for you, if no one else support you, you are not without care. You are not without support, because you can pat yourself on the back if you don't have anyone else to pat you on your back and tell you you're doing great in life. It is important to have interpersonal friendship. These things dwell in the heart. Who you are in your heart is who you are as an individual. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a husband. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a wife. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a mother. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a father. Who you are in your heart is who you are as an entrepreneur. Who you are in your heart is who you are as an employee. Who you are in your heart is who you are as a friend. Who you are in your heart is who you are. Another thing that is important to take knowledge of is interpersonal belief. That means believing in your own personal ability to achieve dreams and goals and to be accomplished, to be an accomplished visionary, and to live successfully over life adversity. Never believe in the ability and the power and the greatness and strength of others more than you believe in your own power, strength, greatness, and ability. Never befriend someone else more than you are a friend to yourself. Let me say that again. Never be more of a friend to someone else than you are to yourself. Never love someone else more than you love yourself. Never believe in someone else more than you believe in yourself. And don't just forgive everybody else who do you wrong. Forgive yourself and release yourself. And then the last thing that I want to share with you in terms of interpersonal core values is self-worth and self-value. Self-worth and self-value. I meant to bring a $20 bill, but I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. I oftentimes share this illustration. Let's say I have a $20 bill in my hand, and I take the $20 bill and I crumble it up. And then I just totally suppress it and take it through all type of abuse. And then I spit on it. And then I rip it in half. And then I throw it down on the ground and I trample it under my foot. Now that $20 bill would have gone through some horrendous, like, detriment, right? It's like I tried to destroy it. It's going through all types of abuse. But one thing about that $20 bill is that after all of that abuse, after all of that suppression, after all of the stuff that it has endured, it still has its value. You can pick it up and unfold it and unwrap it. You can get the crinkles out of it. You can put some tape around it, tape it back together, and head to Walmart with it. You can go straight to the store with it, y'all. You know why? Because in spite of all of the abuse the $20 bill has gone through, it still maintains its value. It still maintains its worth. And that's what I discovered about myself when I lived in the streets and I was incarcerated and I went through all of that trauma in my younger years over 32 years ago. I discovered that I still have my value and I still have my worth. And that's what you must realize about yourself, that after the divorce, you still have your value. You still have your worth. After the business failure, you still have your value. You still have your worth. After someone walked off and left you and abandoned you and they didn't see the value in you and they couldn't see the treasure in you, that's fine. That means they're blind. That not mean that you're not significant and you're not valuable. That just has all to do with their ability to visualize. You still have your value. You still have your self-worth. So having an interpersonal, healthy self-image is important. It's knowing in your heart that you are worthy of the best that life has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you are worthy of the best that your creator has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you are worthy of the best that the universe has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you are worthy of the best that God has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you're worthy of the best that marriage has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you're worthy of the best that your career has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you're worthy of the best that this world has to offer. It's knowing in your heart that you are worthy of the best that you have to offer to you. And that is what dwells in your heart, and it keeps you with a healthy heart through all times and through all seasons of your life. Can I tell you this? You are worthy of love. You are worthy of joy. You are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of prosperity. You're worthy of longevity in life. You're worthy of blessings. You're worthy of having healthy relationships. You're worthy of a happy and healthy marriage. You're worthy of a successful career. You're worthy of a thriving business. You're worthy of success. So in closing, don't let life kill you. Don't let life bully you around. Don't let life deprive you and ultimately defeat you. I need you to have a get back up and fight and get back up and win type of mentality and type of heart. I need you to have a I will overcome type of heart. I will be victorious type of heart. I need you to have the type of heart that no matter what somebody says about you, or no matter what someone tries to do to victimize you, you refuse to be a victim. You know, the difference between a victim and a victor is this right here. Both goes through the same exact situation. They both endure the same circumstances. One in their heart say to themselves, I don't think I'll ever recover. I don't think I'll ever be able to enjoy life again. I don't think I'll ever be able to live again. While the other one says, I refuse to die. I refuse to quit. I refuse to languish. I refuse to be defeated. I refuse to go into depression. I refuse to be sorrowful. I refuse to allow what happened to me to define me. I refuse to allow for my history to dictate my destiny. I will rise above what I've experienced. I will rise above my trauma, and I will live my heart. I will live my life with a heart full of victory, because I believe in me. I believe in me. I believe in my ability. I believe in my gifts, my skills, my talent. I believe in my destiny. I believe in what I carry in my heart, because I purpose to have a healthy heart. And so you ask yourself this question: what am I going to do about the things that life throws at me? What am I going to do when things don't go my way? What am I going to do when things seems to fall apart in my life? I tell you what to do. Tell yourself that who I am in my heart is who I am in life. Who I am in my heart is who I am when the storm comes. Who I am in my heart is who I am when trouble knocks on my door. Who I am in my heart is who I am when Freddy Krueger tries to turn my little house on the prairie into a nightmare on Elm Street. Who I am in my heart is who I am in a recession. Who I am in my heart is who I am doing joblessness. Who I am in my heart is who I am while cancer is in my body. Who I am in my heart is who I am while I'm going through the storm. Who I am in my heart is who I am when pressure is on my life. Who you are in your heart is who you are. And if you are victorious in your heart, you are victorious in life. If you are happy in your heart, you are happy in life. If you are an overcomer in your heart, you are an overcomer in life. So no matter what happens around you, the truth is, as long as you guard your heart with all diligence, out of it is going to flow your victory in life. You know why? Because the greater you is on the inside. There's a greater husband inside your heart. There's a greater wife inside your heart. There's a greater entrepreneur inside your heart. There's a greater victor inside your heart. There's a greater visionary inside your heart. There's a greater goal setter inside your heart. There's a greater dreamer inside your heart. And what you got to do is just let it out. Let that person out. Let that new person, let that victorious person, let that overcoming person, let that conqueror out of your heart so that it can live in the place of a defeated person or a weak person or a tired person or a person who is ready to give up in life. I hope that you've been blessed. I hope that you've received the things that I come to share today. I believe in you. And I know that you're going to do great in life. I know that you're going to rise above every circumstance and every situation. God bless you, and may life offer you the best that life has to offer. Thank you.